Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today we have entered day 176 of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. And as we've been reporting over the last several days, there have not been a lot of territorial changes in the ongoing conflict. Now, that does not mean that very heavy fighting is not taking place. Now, for all intents and purposes, there has not really been large territorial changes in the last month or so. And again, are we looking at an issue where Russian forces have stalled? Are both sides worn out? Or is this a strategy being employed by Russian forces to wear down and destroy and degrade the Ukrainian military forces? You will have to be the judge on that, and obviously we will only know that at the conclusion of said conflict. Now, with that being said, we do know the Russians have been pounding Kharkiv, however you'd like to pronounce it, for the last 24, 48 hours now. There have been strikes on military targets located in civilian areas. So again, I'd like to reiterate that it does not appear that the Russians are intentionally selecting civilian areas to launch artillery strikes, but seem to be going after military units, Ukrainian military units that are located in civilian areas. Now, on the defense of the Ukrainian side, many of their military bases have been destroyed in cruise missile strikes, and obviously the Ukrainian military is not going to reside in those military bases just to be attacked by Russian forces. So they are going to disperse into civilian areas, and we have seen this in prior conflicts, and we will see it in future conflicts. But again, you're looking at more or less a siege environment where the citizens of Kharkov and the Ukrainian military are working together to prevent the Russian military from taking over the second largest city in Ukraine. Now, with that being said, the Russians are observing Ukrainian military units moving and looking at where they are positioned, and then they attack those Ukrainian military units. And unfortunately, it does lead to the civilian loss of life in said conflict. If we go back in history and we look at, for instance, the eviction of the Islamic State from Mosul, or say the Second Battle of Fallujah, even the United States was striking what you would call civilian areas with some very, very large ordnance because the enemy had dispersed into those civilian areas. So take it as you will, but that is exactly what is happening in this conflict. If we truly saw the Russians employing a strategy to break the morale of the Ukraine civilian population, which is a strategy that could possibly be deployed. It has been deployed before. It was deployed by Allied forces facing off against German forces, and was used by German forces, obviously, as well. But if the Russians had wanted to, they could selectively locate cities, announce to Ukrainian forces that they were going to systematically destroy said city, and start doing so. But we haven't seen that, and we have not seen any sort of carpet bombing. We have not seen mass cruise missile strikes on downtown areas where we would see 30, 40 cruise missiles impact large residential areas. We haven't seen that, and it's well within the Russian capability to conduct that sort of operation to break the will of the ordinary Ukrainian citizen. Now, would that? Hard to say. Obviously, it would lead to international condemnation, and that is probably why we are not seeing that being employed as of yet. So right now, yes, civilians are being targeted. It is because, again, the Ukrainian military has dispersed its forces into civilian areas. That is a fact, and it's happening. It's unfortunate, but in modern war, it is just a necessary evil. One has no choice but to employ said type of strategy. And again, I am not saying that the Ukrainians, I'm not going to sit as a moral judge on the Ukrainians for doing that. It's something that is imperative and they have to do. At the same time, the Russians have to strike those Ukrainian targets as well. So it's the situation that exists, and it will continue to exist until war changes at some point, if in fact it does, which is highly doubtful. But that's really it for today. We continue to see this pressure campaign by Russian forces in the east. Again, the much hyped Ukrainian counteroffensive in the west seems to have dissolved, and the Russians continue to maintain control of the western bank of the Dnieper River. I truly appreciate everybody joining us today. We will be doing another video on the ongoing war in the former state of Ethiopia, as that state has disintegrated into a civil war, a multi-front civil war, and we do have new information regarding a possible offensive by the Tigrayan Defense Forces against the forces of the despotic regime of Eritrea and the Abiy loyalist forces. That will be in another video, and it will be soon to come. I appreciate, again, everybody for joining us today. More to come very soon. Have a good day.